probably one of my favorite movie titles ever, next to another one which is way down the list that we're not getting to today. I Spit on Your Grave.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. You've seen this, though.
Yes, but this is the 2010 remake. Not
Kathy's here. In the front door. Well, she's at the front door.
Where's the front door?
Right here. Right there. Front door.
They say, where? The front door. Yeah, goof. Yeah, so I Spit on Your Grave, the original was like 78 or 80 or something like that. It's the content warning. We're going to talk about a rape revenge film, which, you know, has rape in it. So
trigger warning.
Uncomfortable crap.
Brother puts the timestamps. So if it's a trigger, go to the next.
If you do not want to hear us talk about a rape revenge film, and I do not blame you at all, feel free to skip to the next movie that interests you. But so I'm a fan of the rape revenge genre of film, which is a disgusting, deplorable genre of film, I will admit. So why do I like that genre of film? I think because the whole rape revenge genre is predicated on the idea of someone. It's an exploitation film that shows a character or group of characters that are just so deplorable, so repugnant, so unscrupulous and vile.
Good news.
That you can do anything to them, no matter how sick or twisted or disgusting. It's justified. So if you want to do an exploitation gore movie, but you're like, man, I've got this really cool idea for smashing a person's head with their eyeballs shooting out and stringing them up by their scrotum. It's like, but man, how could we possibly justify doing that to any character? Make them a rapist.
Ding! Yeah.
And there is, for a gore hound like me,
and me,
I love gore. I love, and part of it is the magic trick. Just seeing how these ideas are staged, is the creativity behind them, and sometimes they're just so outlandish and obnoxious they're genuinely funny. Not to everyone, but to me. And also, I will admit, there is a catharsis to seeing truly evil people getting their comeuppance.
And to have, I'm going to generalize this, sorry. Well, actually, I won't. I'll stop myself before I do it. The person who has been wronged, seeing them have a strength to like carry on and like take back what was there, the piece that was taken away, like take it back. There's something great about having that person, not like come out of the ashes type of thing.
I imagine not being a victim of sexual violence myself, that's not a perspective I have. And I imagine actual victims of sexual violence probably have a wide spectrum of reactions to that kind of a trope. But I would not be surprised that, at least for some, it's validating, entertaining, empowering to watch a victim get theirs. I imagine for at least some, that is a power fantasy.
Yeah,
like,
I find
boy,
that,
I'd like to,
I wish I was cool enough to chop off that dongle.
The original I Spit on Your Grave is it follows the same structure that most rape revenge movies do. You have a woman who's just a sweetie pie and just a nice person who spends the next half an hour of the film being tormented and brutalized and raped by one or more people, and then she spends the rest of the movie hunting them down and brutally murdering them. That's the general structure of these films. And the original I Spit on Your Grave is no different. You have Camille Keaton, I think the actor's name was, who is an author who goes out to the woods somewhere, rents a cabin, so she's going to write her book over the summer, and she's victimized by some
a few people.
Yeah, four different dudes who are out there, and then she kills them all. The movie has a weird thing where the main bad guy is the second to die, and it's weird because it feels like he should be the end of the movie, and he's like, there's still like 15 minutes left of the movie, and she's like, oh, there's other two, and I kill the other two people and end a movie, roll credits, and you're like, well, that's weird. And, that's an odd.
Is it like that in both of them?
No, actually, the new movie has a different structure, which I feel works better movie wise. So the big set piece of the movie is she uses her sexuality to lure the main bad guy into a trap, because of course this guy is not just thoroughly despicable, but also phenomenally stupid to think it's like, oh yeah, she liked it. She totally digs me. She's wants totally more. It's like, back more. Oh my God. So she lures him into her house, bathes with him naked, and then yeah. And then
oh God, that's sorry.
Yep.
That's strength. That's strength.
And he's like, yep, this is all good. My warning sensors are not going off. Oh, hey, she's giving me a hand job. That's pretty sweet. Wow, this woman is a real team player. She doesn't hold a grudge at all.
I knew I was good.
Why I should do more rapes. They lead to happy endings. And then she, while he's, relaxed and has his eyes closed, she grabs a butcher knife and lops off his penis, and then walks out of the bathroom, locks the door, goes downstairs, sits down, puts on some music, and then just rocks in her chair to the screams of him going, oh my God, I can't stop the bleeding. Ah! And it's so wonderful. It's such a great scene. And for guys, and we're sitting there going, oh God.
I wonder
and
how
his
bad that
cries of "I can't stop the bleeding."
I would imagine that's gotta
so great.
Bleed pretty profusely.
Yes, yeah, because there's some arteries there for blood to go in and out.
There are some things that just like bleed.
Yeah, you will if you don't staunch the bleeding, you will bleed to death eventually. That's a slow, painful, and probably terrifying way to die, but he deserves it.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. So, I'm upset that he got a hand job before he left here.
But, yeah. So the 2010 remake. Here's what I wrote. I said I was expecting the original with new, more horrific kills. And while there is that, I was pleased to see the movie genuinely trying to differentiate itself with a different structure and tone as well. Not entirely successful, but appreciated. So this is truly a remake of the first movie. I forget the character's name.
Who remade it? I feel like I know this answer, but I don't.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'll get to that later. So same setup. Woman goes to some woods to a cabin to write her novel, and gets attacked by people who are there, and then plots a revenge. Yeah. And there's some really great stuff here.
All right.
You think, how do you top the first movie? There's one of the guys, she basically hog ties and then makes him hold a plank, so she has him like over a bathtub where his waist is like on the edge, and he has to use his abdominal muscles to keep himself out of the bath water.
Oh my goodness!
So he's like tied up like this.
Yes, yes,
and he's
yes,
slowly lowering, and the bathtub
that
is
that's good.
So eventually no matter how long he can hold it out, eventually he's going to drown. Except the bathtub is filled with lye. Yeah. Yep.
Yay, her. Yay. Where do you even get? See, I'd be such a terrible killer because, like, I'd go to the hardware store. I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna need lye. I don't know where that is.
It was actually.
I'm like, so I need to dispose of this body. So what Isla's body disposal?
The one of the guys lives in a trailer, and there's a tool shed, and she finds it in the tool shed, and
okay,
out there for dissolving dead deer corpses and shit. That's something you could imagine would be on hand.
Yeah,
so the lye is actually set up. So kudos to the film for doing that. The big twist that the movie does is she's been brutalized and raped, and as she's running through the woods, she actually runs into a police officer.
Okay.
Who which is not what happened in the original. So you're like, oh, okay. And it turns out crooked rapey police officer who just takes her right back to the house. He's like the ringleader of the gang that accosts her. Boy, that's unlucky, but it gives us more victims. So
yeah, but there's sometimes I'm done. Please continue.
Yeah. So she basically she shoves a shotgun up this guy's butt and then rigs the trigger to another guy that she knocked out. And she's like, you better hope he stays still when he wakes up.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah.
Like, I get there are times, and I get it. I get it's a movie, all this, but like there is a part of me that at a certain point, sometimes I don't need everyone in the town to be in on it sometimes.
Yeah. It's like, are there no good people in this entire town? Really, everyone is just a horrible rapist?
Yeah. Like that's the thing, is I'm like, I just sometimes need.
Yeah. And while
even they can be, idiots who don't believe her, are like, oh, go, like, or whatever. I'm sorry. I mean, that's just a nerve that hits sometimes on this type of movies, that no matter who you go to, they're part of oh, that's my brother Bobby, and I like this.
And I appreciate that both movies have elements of commentary on toxic masculinity and things like that, because these characters in both movies, I'm not saying it's impressively Oscar-winningly well done or anything, but it is there. The guys in the first movie are a commentary on impotent male outrage regarding generally women's lib. That's essentially the era that the film came out in. This one's somewhat the same thing, but it's more of the just impotent, pathetic male rage at just being losers. The whole incel thing, and just women are all bitches who think they're smart because they know how to read and live in a city. And it's just, no, it's just you specific. Yeah, but what the movie makes really clear is it's not women, it's them. These guys are just genuinely losers. They're just pathetic, stupid people.
Yeah.
Not because they're men, not because they live wherever the hell this takes place, but because they're just incompetent, shitty, unremarkable losers.
Yeah.
The reason that, them city womans won't give you the time of day is not because they think they're better than you, or it's a class thing. It's because you suck. Dude, stop sucking.
Yeah. It's the worst.
All right. So I spit on your grave, or as the trailer for the original film phrased it, I spit on your grave. If you've ever seen the trailer for the original Spit on Your Grave, Day of the Woman, I spit on your grave. I love it.
It's definitely of its era.
Yeah. So, all right, next movie.
Yes.
I Spit on Your Grave 2, which sadly is just the number 2. It's not like TOO, which would have been, I totally would have done I Spit on Your Grave 2.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh.
So this is the sequel to the 2010 remake.
Same girl?
No, actually.
Good, because I was gonna say that poor woman.
Yeah, because what I was thinking is like, oh, does the same woman just get raped by a new gang of asswipes and she kills them too? Which is kind of the plot of a movie I talked about in one of the past months, Miss 45.
I was gonna say there's one that you did talk about. Yeah,
Miss 45, where she gets raped on the way home and then goes home and comes in on someone who is burgling her apartment, and he's like, since you're here, may as well rape you.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God.
That was awful.
Yeah.
I'm cold in my apartment. I don't live in an apartment. I live in a house.
Yeah. So no, this movie's a different character. And it's like, okay, so it's not the same character, but she runs afoul of rapists and then kills them. This one actually switches up the structure in a way that I really, really admire. It's a different movie. It's still a rape revenge movie, but it had a unique take. So we've got a main character who's actually much more interesting than the original character, she's generally nice, and she's a writer. That's really all you know about her.
Wasn't the first one a writer? Went to writer novel?
No, that I'm talking about the first one. She's generally nice, and she's a writer, and that's about all you know about her. This one in the sequel, she is a working woman who aspires to be a model actress, but that's a difficult industry to break into. So she's also bussing tables at a restaurant, or while she, does casting calls and is trying to get a portfolio together. But she's also a handy woman who helps out the building super catch rats, because she's good with, she's like, you've got rats. See, okay, let me get this thing of wire and a screwdriver. I'm going to build a little snare and put it on the hole and screw it into the wall. There, that'll catch the rat when he comes out. And he's like, wow, that's cool. So we learn a lot more about how creative and self-reliant she is. She's just a more well-rounded, more interesting character than the original.
Yeah.
So she goes to a casting call. For modeling casting call, and it's like, okay, I think I see where it says she's going to be taken advantage of by the sleazeballs who do the casting calls, because they're already being kind of weird about things. She gets there and one's just sleeping on the side, and it's like, okay, that's weird. And there's one guy who's just, really nice, but the other guy who's like, hey, maybe something sexier. And, all the girls do it. Hey, I'm doing you a favor. And she's like, you know what? No.
And that shit still happens. That's the thing.
Yeah. And so she leaves. And
good for her.
Yeah. She doesn't get accosted at the shoot. She just, she's like, I'm not comfortable. This is not what I want to do. Thank you for your time. I'm leaving. So she goes home, and then the nice one, who's really awkward but nice guy, he comes to her home, because she signed some release, so they have her address. So he's like, hey, I just wanted to apologize for my brother who, but I brought you your photos. Here's the thumb, because we're not going to sell them or anything. This thumb drive has the photos we took just so you can have them. And she's like, oh, okay, that's nice.
I'm so concerned about where this is going.
Bye. And so he, breaks in and rapes her. So beats the snot out of her, rapes her, and then ties her up and throws her in the corner. And it's it's a decent twist because you expect it's going to be the real skeevy, creepy guys, and it's the soft-spoken, politer, nice. It turns out the nice guy is the real horror of the bunch. And the two, and he's like, "Oh no, I've messed up again." It's like, you do this a lot, do you? And so he calls his brothers in, and they were like, "Well," and they end up actually, the building super hears her crying, and he kicks down her door and comes in, and he gets stabbed to death.
Oh.
And he was not a nice guy, but a nice guy. So that's sad. And so
Isn't that sad that we have to be like, he
to
wasn't
clarify between nice guy and nice guy, yeah.
Yeah, like he was an ass, but at least he wasn't a rapist. Like, insane.
So the two brothers come in, and you're thinking, oh, she's going to get gang raped by the two brothers. But no, actually, they just kidnap her. And this is never actually explained in the movie, but somehow ship her to like Bulgaria or something. And they're like, because she wakes up and she's, chained to a pole in a basement somewhere. And they where they abuse her there, and she escapes and runs out the window and finds the cops, and turns out she's like in Bulgaria or something like that. And it's like, how did you manage to ship an unconscious person from the United States all the way to Bulgaria without anyone noticing? I have no idea how you would logistically handle that. That sounds at the very least really expensive, and also kind of impossible.
And dude, international like shipping is just a pain. I get stuff from Australia all the time because of my work, but like there's a lot. I mean, how does it get through customs? That's a private
place. I that seems, but movie, not my biggest hang up, but it wasn't like, how did they pull that off?
We just folded her up.
So anyway, she finds the Bulgarian police, and she's like, I want to go to the American embassy because you guys are being stupid doubting Thomases and not believing me. Stupid peoples. And so this other woman who's like a social worker is like, hey, I'll take you to the embassy. If you want, we can stop by my house, get you some, intact clothes, and you can have a shower and stuff like that. And yes, it's going exactly where you think it's going, because you know what these movies do. She's in on it, and she takes her right back to the house and leads her right down into the basement. And you're like, no, 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 no. And she walks in, and she's like, oh, son of a bitch. And so she's chained up in the basement again, and it's one of those things where they're like selling, it's like Hostel, where people pay to come abuse and rape her.
Man, I love Hostel though.
Hostel's good. Hostel 2 is good too. I never saw the third one. That was not an Eli Roth movie.
I don't believe I ever.
I think it was a direct-to-video one. Yeah. What was I talking about? So, and there, the guy who pays to abuse and rape her, rapes her with a stun stick. Yeah, yeah. Ow, jeez. Oh, it's really horrible. And here's another thing about the movie that it makes no sense to me. Instead of just constantly selling her to guys who want to abuse and rape her, apparently they just do that once and like, okay, now we're just going to put her in a big box and bury her in the basement floor. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. Why would you put her in this big box, like a big speaker box, one of those really big boxes? Because I mean, it's like 2.5 feet tall. You got to dig a big ass hole in the ground to cover that sucker up. So,
but like, also, she's an investment.
You're only going to do that once. What? Did you get a bad Yelp review? What happened here? So they
couldn't stay conscious.
Yeah, I was zapping her in the groin, and she just plumb passed out. Had to sit there and wait for her to regain consciousness. So they put her in a box, and then they bury her in the basement. So she gets buried alive. But it turns out, let me read what I put in my review. 2 superfluous characters and 1 immensely absurd plot contrivance. But I can admire foregoing the elegant simplicity of the original premise for something more complex. Much more interesting main character. Has nothing to say, but the kills are good. And that's true. While I was talking about how the first 2 movies, the original and the remake, have light commentary on stuff, this really doesn't. This has there's no subtext here. It's just text. It's just a story. There's not much going on here, which is, fine. So here's the aforementioned absurd plot contrivance.
Okay.
This house is built on top of, there's a really large sewer system running under this house, like the kind you can actually freely walk in. Like 5 people abreast. It's just big sewer. So luckily, the case that she's buried in just breaks through the floor of the basement and falls straight into the sewer. And they don't hear it or notice. Yeah, oh yeah, they're really lucky. And somehow they like bury her in the basement and then they like put a rug over it, and somehow it doesn't like fall in, because they come in later and they like move the rug and there's a big hole and they're like, oh no. It's like, no.
That's not how that works.
I also kind of have a problem with the fact that she just gets really, really lucky. I mean, absurdly lucky that this thing just broke through the basement floor and crashed and she didn't die. And so the next act of the movie is she's living in the sewer, and she like breaks into a church to scrounge lost and found clothes and food, and the church pastor or whatever that position is called knows she's there, and he leaves stuff for her. He's one of the 2 characters that I call superfluous because they really have no bearing on the plot at all. They could be completely cut from the movie and nothing lost. Not bad characters, not poor performances. They just have nothing to do.
Sure.
So anyway, she regains her strength. She clothes herself and gets stuff, and then she kills all of the people. And we've got some pretty great kills. One, she chains to a wall in the basement and then cuts him, like nice, good old gashes across the stomach, across the thighs, and the upper arms and the face, and then rubs poop in them, and then just leaves them there. So that
it's like our favorite quote from that terrible sleepaway camp movie when he's like, eat shit and die,
eat shit and die, Bill. Eat shit and live, Frank.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
So she doesn't actually finish him. She just leaves him there, and his wounds just fester and rot and get infected and get all gross, and that's great. Just lets him
is just a moment away, my friend.
Just lets him die.
Yep.
The guy who electrocuted her, she ties to a bed and electrocutes him in the crotch and the mouth, and then just does horrible things too. And every time she kills someone, she like uses a turn of phrase again that they used against her against them. She gets a little punny in places. The main guy, she straps to a table and puts his nuts in a vice. And there's a really great shot of testicles in a vice, and they show it. It's so great. And she's like, "You like it tight, don't you?"
Oh God!
I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful. And there's some great stuff in there. So I really appreciate the movie didn't just another girl goes to the wood, gets raped, and
or same girl
or same girl. Yeah, they really did something completely different. And you know what? The writer of this movie responded to me on Twitter and appreciated my take on his film.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. So if you review stuff, be aware that real human beings worked hard on this stuff, even if it's bad. So, write your reviews knowing that the people who worked on it may actually read it, because sometimes they do.
That's awesome. What did he
And
say? Do you even know, or
uh,
is it not?
sure. I could look it up real quick, but
Oh, okay.
let's see. It was just let me see. Dup. Where?
So did you at him, or did he just
No,
know?
no, no.
Like, how did
I
you?
guess he was just searching
Or
I Spit on Your
his?
Grave too,
Yeah.
and came across my review.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Uh, Twitter, the way you stack things sucks.
Dude. Try searching in Outlook. You'll never find what you need.
Thomas Fenton, who's the writer, he says, well, at least you like the kills. And I said I did indeed. In fact, I liked quite a bit about the film. I hope that comes across in the original tweet. And he responded again, glad you did. It ain't everyone's cup of tea, that's for sure. And that's true. These movies are definitely not everyone's cup of tea. But they are mine. So anyway, moving on.
All
Do
right.
I Spit on Your Grave 3? Vengeance is mine.
Ah, boy. So basically, we should have just told those who had
You can skip the rest
visceral
of the video.
reactions just the rest of the video, because
Yeah.
this will probably be the end of it.
Yeah. So I Spit on Your Grave 3. The original character returns, but this movie
Oh boy.
is interested in following the survivor of the first movie and how she deals with her trauma.
Okay.
So she joins.
Okay, because not only did she get her, part of her taken away, but then she actually committed a murder spree. So yeah, there's a lot to live with.
So she has changed her name. She lives in a city. She like quadruple locks her door. She doesn't socialize. She's pretty standoffish, but she decides to join a support group for survivors of sexual assault.
Okay.
And I think that is a really interesting and laudable choice for a sequel. It's like, let's follow the survivor of the original film and see how she deals with the trauma. Now, this is still an exploitation movie.
Okay.
But that's a really great premise to start with. How is she dealing with things? Well, poorly, kind of a mix of the two.
Oh man.
What did I write? I wrote super laudable. Laudable. Super laudable choice to follow the survivor of the first film and see how she deals with her trauma. Ham-handed though it may be, this one has a lot on its mind. It's got the kills, yes, but it also has humor and even a likable character or two.
Interesting.
I didn't care for the person who runs the survivor group. She seems like it strikes me as the filmmakers don't have much patience for psychiatry, psychotherapy, or those kind of people. Okay. Like they don't trust people like that, because it's that character who's, now everybody, we need to be nice and include. It's that kind of mousy person who seems to be speaking off of a script without actually listening to what anyone is saying.
Basically, it's we didn't do our research and this is what we think is happening.
Yes. It comes off as, this is what we assume these people are like, rather than this is what these people are like.
Right.
It's the bad stereotype of the people who lead these type of groups. So she actually makes a friend in the support group, and this woman is wonderful. A survivor herself. She deals with her trauma by being just incredibly brash and profane and outspoken. Amen. And she is just an absolute hoot, and I love her, and she dies, and that makes me very sad.
Is she killed?
Yes.
Is she avenged?
Yes.
Okay.
She is one of those people who cannot escape from the shadow of an abusive partner.
Oh God.
She, yeah, she leaves him, and but she, for some reason, can't help but go back, and eventually he kills her. So where the exploitation element of the movie comes in is our survivor from the first movie uses these stories told in the group therapy sessions to find people to kill the shit out of.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so she ends up killing the boyfriend of her friend. Oh God, it's so good. So
Oh boy.
she lures him. She does the thing where she dresses provocatively and goes to a bar where he's in and does the
The come
smoky
hither.
eye thing,
Uh-huh.
and then walks out of the bar and into an alley, and he follows her, and she's like, nah, not interested. And he's like, but you looked at me.
But
And
you were
she's,
asking for it with that skirt.
yeah. And she's like, and now I'm telling you to go away because I'm not interested. And he just, instead of, taking the none too subtle hint, he keeps pressing, and obviously it's not going to leave her alone.
I love it. I love it.
So she drops to her knees, takes out his penis, grabs it, jams a knife in it, and just pulls it like wise out. So whoop, like peeling a banana.
And that was like a forked snake tongue.
Yes, it's so good. Another one of the
I have to watch these just for the kills. I freaking love.
There's some really great kills in these. Again, not for everyone. Some really tough subject matter and explicit depictions of said subject matter. So, viewer discretion is advised. Another one is one of the members of the group is a young girl whose stepfather is abusing her. So our heroine does the whole pigtails thing to lure him into a warehouse, and then ties him to a chair with no bottom on the chair, tips him forward, and then shoves a big pipe up his butt. And she's like, and this pipe is like this big, and she's like lubing it up. She's like, you don't deserve the lube, but I don't think this would work otherwise. And then she taps it in with a sledgehammer. Just wham. Oh, it's so good.
I like that you can tap something with a sledgehammer. That's the part that's like just needs a little nudge. Just.
So the movie has some stuff on its mind, as I said, as the movie progresses. Our heroine, whatever, gets less and less concerned with whether her victim deserves it or not. She's losing herself.
She's addicted now.
There's kind of a cycle of violence thing, a vigilante thing where she starts out being absolutely sure that these people are doing the things that they're doing, and ends up going after people who, like an office dude who asked her out one too many times or four too many times, but did eventually say, okay, obviously you're not interested, all right, fine. And then she's like, stab at thee, and it's like, no, he's just a dipshit, not deserving of stabby. And she gets arrested, and there's this whole she's in therapy, but it turns out that she was in jail therapy the whole time. The movie's a flashback of her telling.
Interesting.
So there's some interesting stuff going on.
I find it very interesting because as someone who is very interested in true crime and psychology and things like that. Ooh, I apparently opened something on my desktop that I didn't know. Anyways, so someone who's very interested in that, like, and especially like you and I have talked about these kind of like torture porn type films before, and like that there is an actual story and actual relevance in there. And it's interesting to hear you talk about this because I find it so fascinating that this is truly like what would happen. Like you get to a point and it's like heartbreaking to me to hear, you get all excited, even though it's wrong. I want to put it out, preface, like, yeah, let's not go and murder people. There's a justice system for a reason, even though it too
even
is
if it
flawed.
don't work.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is that like, and then it would start like anyone like this psychotic break that would happen that anyone that even looks at you wrong, you just start seeing the evil everywhere. And it's so sad. But I listen to you saying all these things and I'm feeling it in a different way. And I'm like, this is so psychological and this is so deep. And then I think to myself, no, it's probably not, because it's I Spit on Your Grave 3. And I really wonder if anyone else is like watching it with the same sort of like
critical eye.
Yeah, it's so interesting that like I feel like there's a lot to say.
Yeah,
Is
this
anyone
movie
getting that? Like that's the thing that kills me. Is
yeah,
that
ham-handed
like
though it may be, as I wrote in my review, the movie does have a lot on its mind.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because people don't take movies like this like seriously sometimes. So but like it really
not
does.
without reason, to be fair.
Sure.
A lot of these,
but like let's be real.
A lot of these are nothing more than just an excuse to kill people horribly and show terrible things.
Right, and I'm all in on Saw. I haven't seen Spiral yet because it's not.
Oh yeah, I haven't either.
It's not available at the moment. I need to look into it. Maybe I should look that up. I'm going to write that down so I remember to do it. But anyways, the point is that like I'm all in on those, and it's just fluff, depending on what your fluff entails.
Yeah, that's
it's fluff for me. But like this, it's very interesting to hear you talk about like this. It's very interesting to hear that this could be a quite deep movie.
Well, at the very least, it's a jumping off point for serious discussion. Let's see. Spiral is streaming on, what is this? Shudder. Really?
Right now?
Well, it's also on AMC Plus, but actually, let me look. Was it just added to Shudder or something?
I think that we would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. My Instacart is being picked up.
That's 16-year-old daughter. Oh, this is a different Spiral movie. So Spiral from the book of okay. I had the 2019 movie Spiral. This is a different film. It's streaming on Stars and DirecTV and Spectrum on Demand. So there's some.
Nothing I have.
Yeah,
but it maybe will make its way through.
Yeah,
something somehow. Okay.
Okay, so right. One more because I can get through this real quick.
Oh, can you?
Okay, one more movie. I Spit on Your Grave. Deja Vu. This is not part 4. This is a direct sequel to the original.
Okay. Well, wouldn't 3 be a direct
sequel? Well, no, 3 was a direct sequel to the remake. This is a direct sequel to the one from 40 years ago.
Okay, I'm here. Found it. Okay. Figured it out. Math.
Let me just
day job, not weekend job.
Let me just read my review. Direct sequel to the original. One of the worst films I've ever seen and an absolute embarrassment for everyone involved. And it's 2.5 hours long. So
why though?
And Camille Keaton,
I mean, we can talk about why later.
Camille Keaton, the actor from the first movie, reprises her role. Nice to see her again.
Yeah, good for her.
So she has a daughter, and both she and her daughter are kidnapped by the descendants of the guys she killed in the original movie for revenge. Okay, sure. But so Camille dies, and then her daughter runs around and then gets captured and raped and then runs around some more and then kills the rest of them. And the kills aren't good. They're not memorable. They're not particularly well done. The acting and script, well, I don't want to blame the actors.
If you don't
They
have
have
anything
nothing
with
to
which to
work
work,
with.
yeah.
It's one of the scripting is just terrible. While the original movies were all trying to make realistic characters and commenting on, you know, toxic masculinity and just loathsome, just pathetic people, these are just stereotypes.
The thing that I find very interesting,
It's one of those
funny,
movies that's
stupid,
uncomfortable because you're just embarrassed for everyone in it. It's embarrassing.
like, maybe since this has no relevance to our lives because I happen to know who our parents are. But like if I if I found out, you know, I'm a kid and my, you know, father gets murdered, I'd be upset. But then if I learned like why, I'd be like, well, I'm pissed at that. But he was a bad, like, I don't think that I'd seek revenge because it just, to me, I'm like, you killed my dad. I know that he was raping you and killed your cat and stepped on your dog's tail, but I'm still gonna be like, if one of my, like, it's, this is a weird sort of like, as I can like, as the, because you're talking about like the next, like, as the kids to revenge their, it's just, I'm like, what are you revenging? It was, I mean, I get it in a way.
You know, your family raped and tried to kill her.
But like at a certain point, like,
yeah, they you know, kind of deserved it. So,
well,
yeah, it's a bad movie. Also, it's made way too late. I mean, maybe it would have worked like
sure,
even 30 years later, but 40 years later,
sure.
I mean, Camille's in her 70s. It's,
yeah, they really took their sweet ass time getting upset about this.
Yeah, and it's directed.
One day I'm gonna pay you back.
Directed by the original guy, so he's like in his 80s now. And I'm sorry, but you don't have it anymore. This was just poorly made. Like the main woman who's the bad guy, who is apparently the wife of the guy whose penis she lops off in the tub at the end of the first movie. He had a wife, and this is her, except she's in her 50s. So was she like 14 at the time?
Child bride.
I mean, maybe, I guess. I don't think that was what they were going for. But then it turns out that the lovely old couple that helps her happens to be his parents. I'm like, but they'd be in their hundreds by now. No, they'd be in their like 90s, and this was his grandma. It's like, she'd be in her hundreds.
Oh my God.
No, this doesn't work at all. One of the guys, and yeah, you killed my cousin Matthew. And I'm like, you weren't even born yet.
Yeah.
You're 32.
Yeah, this is like a family
40
history
years ago. It doesn't, I mean,
yeah.
It does not work at all. The dialogue's terrible. The story is terrible. The scripting is terrible. The shooting's terrible. Even the kills and effects and gore are terrible. All of it is bad. So the actors are trying. Some of them, I can tell, are talented, charismatic actors, but they've got nothing to do. Like, it's bad. And
well, we have to wrap this up because I have
to wrap it up anyway.
Really bad, like real bad.
So there's all the I Spit on Your Grave movies. I hope you enjoyed our review. So I've got lots more movies to go through.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here for them.
So we will continue with our December monthly movie mini reviews another time. So thanks everyone for probably skipping the last hour of reviews. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.